41 and 42.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you tell me what happened?
Well, I had just lit my cigarette when I heard the crashing, and then I turned and I saw him, the guy on the stretcher, in the store.
All right, how long was it before the first policeman arrived?
Well, I had enough time to smoke my whole cigarette.
Can you show me where you were standing?
Yeah, I mean, I was right there, but I could see everything from right there. I mean, I could see, except that I kind of closed my eyes when it looked like they were going to shoot him.
All right, don't go anywhere because we need to talk to you further.
You see what happened?
Yeah. The man was about to duck back into the store.
Wait, he went back into the store before he got shot? You saw that clearly?
I had a good view, yeah.
I'd like to get a complete statement from you, if that's all right.
I have to get back to work. My lunch hour is only a half an hour.
Okay, well, this won't take long. It's very important, so you might want to find a cell phone or a payphone and call your employer, okay?
Never saw anybody get shot before. Doesn't take long for someone to die, does it?
No. Be with you in a minute.
So you were trying to hold the crowd back?
Yeah, they were pressing in, and we were focused on trying to stop the guy at the same time.
Yeah, this guy, what was the guy doing? Was he trying to get away or what?
No. He looked to me like he wanted to die.
He wanted to die. Well, how far was this guy from Officer Rook when Rook shot him?
Maybe you should interview Officer Rook.
Well, we will, but you were here. We'd like to get your perspective.
I think I want to talk to the union lawyer before I answer that.
Okay, well, that's your right if that's what you want to do.
That's what I want to do. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say anything else right now.
Dougie, what's the story?
We attempted mouth-to-mouth, but he'd already bled out a lot. Where he got shot, he didn't have a prayer.
All right, take him down to the morgue and lock him up, okay? What, is this a police shooting?
Yeah.
So who is this guy? Anybody know who it is?
No, not so far.
He was acting kind of loopy, probably wired on something according to the witnesses.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
If he was a junkie or a break-and-enter guy, the chances are his prints are on file somewhere with somebody.
Is this the officer that shot him?
No, it was Officer Rook. He's back in the station. He's pretty shaken up. I'll be talking to him later on.
You're taking this to Inquest.
Police shooting is not even a choice here. So what kind of weapons was he carrying?
A couple of knives. That's what he came to the officer with.
You think this is victim precipitated or not?
Uniforms are calling it suicide.
Uniforms calling it suicide. So which were the uniforms that were here before this went down?
Yeah, lit one.
Is he a big cop?
Yeah, traffic cop. I guess they had trouble getting back up here in time.
What happened to the emergency response? Couldn't they stop with rubber bullets?
No, it was all over before the phone even rang.
Is that right?
Supposedly.
Hey, if you guys are through with your interviews, we've got a couple of ladies in the store that are ready to talk now.
All right.
Catch up with you later.
Okay.
So how's it going?
All right, I guess. Was this a robbery? What's the story?
Well, it really depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
They're ready for you down at pathology.
Okay, I'll be right there.
The victim's name was Simon Sloan.
Simon Sloan? That's great. Any family I should be calling?
Not yet. And Jimmy wants to see you before you go down.
Now, see if you can locate any family, any friends you can, okay? I gotta know everything I can about this guy.
Okay. He was a high school guidance counselor in Saskatchewan about 10 years ago.
Well, it's right in the file. Jimmy?
This police shooting yesterday morning.
I'm all over it. I'm on the way to autopsy right now.
I understand the police feel that the man was exhibiting irrational behavior, that he was looking for a confrontation.
Yeah, he was packing a knife, so obviously he was doing something that wasn't good.
He had an assault charge on his record. Acquitted by reason of insanity. Spent some time in a psych ward.
Oh, yeah? You see, you're way ahead of me on this, because I don't know what the history was. I don't know what the state of mind was. I don't know the medication, if there was any, because I just got the file.
Well, what we do know is that the police shot him in a public place.
Yeah, and homicide is looking into whether or not proper police procedure was followed.
And that's what concerns me.
What concerns?
The police, policing the police on this.
We got our shot at inquest. If improper procedure was followed, that will come out. If they went by the book, that will come out.
All right. Just make sure we maintain an objective overview on this.
Like always. Right? Or is there something else here?
Nope, just concerned, that's all.
Did you want to attend the autopsy?
No, thank you. You can handle it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are summoned here to inquire into and determine when, where, how, and by what means the deceased Simon Sloan came to meet his death. Now, at the end of the inquest, you will be asked to classify this death, and your options will be at that time, they will be accidental, natural, homicide, suicide, or undetermined. I would like to caution you at this time to please disregard anything that you may have heard or read prior to this inquest commencing. At the end of the inquest, you will also be asked to come up with recommendations. Please base your verdict and your recommendations solely upon what you hear at this inquest. Mr. Kelly.
What happened when the police arrived?
He started towards the officer. The officer told him to drop his weapon.
You said earlier that Mr. Sloan was carrying a knife, is that right?
Yes.
The jury will note that Mr. Sloan was in fact carrying 2 knives and not 1.
I only saw the one.
When Mr. Sloan came into your store, did he seem that he had a purpose in mind?
I don't know what he wanted.
Was he there to rob the store?
He didn't ask for anything. I asked him what he wanted, but he didn't say anything.
So when Mr. Sloan threatened you with the knife, did you feel that he was going to carry through on that threat?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
I'm Glenn Malik. I'm representing Officer Rook. I'd like to ask a question of the witness.
Go ahead.
When the police arrived, did Mr. Sloan's behavior change?
Yes.
How did it change?
Well, he turned his anger at the police.
His anger? I see. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions from the jury for this witness? In that case, I think we'll take a short recess. Thank you.
And Mr. Hawley dropped by the police station, and he said that he wanted to testify at the inquest, so they passed the message on to me.
Well, who's Mr. Hawley?
Well, I guess he used to live with the victim, Mr. Sloan.
That's great. So when's he available to speak to me?
I don't know.
Can you go find out? Let me know.
Hey, good luck.
The cause of death was massive internal bleeding associated with a bullet wound to the stomach. The bullet struck him just above the belt on his left side.
Was Mr. Sloan on any medication at the time of the incident?
No. Toxicology revealed that at the time of death, Mr. Sloan was not taking any drugs, medication, or alcohol.
Did you learn anything from your autopsy that would shed light on Mr. Sloan's lifestyle?
Oh, yes.
There was evidence of malnutrition. He was thinner than he should have been. Also, his feet were in terrible condition, sores, lesions. I think he might have spent a lot of his time walking.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman.
The victim was identified from a set of fingerprints in the police file. Do you know why Mr. Sloan's fingerprints were on record?
I don't know. That's not my area of expertise.
Okay. One more question. You're a doctor. From what you saw, do you think that everything possible was done to save Mr. Sloan's life?
I'm sorry. I should have noted that during the autopsy, I noted that a gastronasal tube had been inserted into the victim. So yes, from that it was clear that the emergency team attempted resuscitation. So yes, everything possible.
Thank you, Doctor.
Everything possible was done to save Mr. Sloan's life.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman. Next witness is Officer Litwin.
I got the call at 10:04 hours. I was in traffic patrol in the area and was able to get there in a couple of minutes.
And what did you see when you arrived at the scene?
Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon!
The victim, Mr. Sloan, was inside the store where several civilians were trapped. I moved around to the side of the doorway. I wanted to use other force options to stop Mr. Sloan. He was goal-oriented, focused on Officer Rook. I took my pepper spray out.
And what effect did the pepper spray have?
None whatsoever. He was determined to move towards Officer Rook like he was going to attack. He was trying to kill himself.
Officer Litwin, please don't try and interpret the victim's state of mind for the jury. Just try and restrict your comments to your own perceptions, if you would.
So how far away was Mr. Sloan standing when Officer Rook shot him?
He was about 10 feet away.
In your training as a police officer, you were taught that when someone presents deadly force, you must use deadly force to stop them.
That's right.
At what distance were you trained to shoot someone presenting deadly force?
When they're within 20 feet.
20 feet. Okay. That's right about here. Okay. Why must you shoot at 20 feet?
From 20 feet away, a perpetrator can take a victim down in less than 2 seconds. A police officer may not get a second chance to take a clear shot.
And Mr. Sloan was how far away when Officer Rook shot him?
He was 10 feet away.
Right here? 10 feet away?
Yeah.
Pretty damn close.
Thank you. Any further questions for Officer Litwin? Excuse me. A civilian was shot by the police. Of course, we're going to hear from the police.
I understand that, but I'd like to hear something other than the official police line.
No. Most civilians will tell you what. The cop didn't have to shoot. Most civilians don't realize that within 20 feet, someone can kill someone with a pair of scissors in like 2 seconds. That's what happened in Miami just last year. You remember that?
Well, how did Sloan get within 20 feet? Why didn't the officer back up and increase the distance between them? Back the crowd up.
Uninformed, Jimmy. What's he gonna do? He was stuck.
Well, were the other cops on the scene backing the crowd up? We don't know, because you didn't ask.
Okay, fine, I'll ask the question. You got a problem?
Well, perhaps you're feeling a little pressure from your ex-colleagues on the police force to make sure their view is well represented.
I'll tell you what, okay? The police will have their chance on the stand, and so will the doctors, too.
Good.
The only person I really want to hear from, he can't show up, because as we both know, he's not around anymore.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, I have tried and tried to reach Mr. Hawley, but that number that he left is a payphone in the lobby of a rooming house, and nobody's answering.
Well, keep trying, okay? Because I gotta have somebody in that witness stand who knew Sloan for what he was. If you keep trying, I'll get through.
As a detective with the Vancouver homicide, I was asked to investigate the shooting of Simon Sloan by Officer Lyle Rook. As a result of my investigation, no charges were laid, and no changes have been made to police policy. Officer Rook did what he was trained to do.
I would like to admit as evidence radio transcripts from that morning. Now, according to these transcripts, Officer Rook arrived on the scene at 10:05:10. The ambulance was called at 10:07:50. In other words, 2 minutes and 40 seconds passed from the time Officer Rook arrived to the time of the shooting. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. In the 2 minutes and 40 seconds that Officer Rook had to control and defuse a potentially deadly situation, you believe he made the right choices?
Officer Rook did what police officers are trained to do.
Thank you, Detective.
Detective Leary, could you, for the benefit of all of us, explain what the police shooting policies are in situations like these?
When we shoot at the center of mass for a couple of reasons. One being that a police revolver is not completely accurate, even at the rifle range. When a police officer is under pressure and having to shoot, it's even less accurate. And it's important when you shoot to shoot at the widest target. You may only have one opportunity. And if you miss, bullet could ricochet, hitting an innocent bystander.
But he only had knives.
Yes, but like I said, Mr. Sloan was wielding these knives with deadly force. Officer Rook had no other option.
Could Officer Rook have separated himself from Sloan? Could he have kept a safe distance, backed up?
No, a crowd had formed behind them.
So now, during the course of your investigation, did you have the opportunity to interview all the officers on the scene that day?
Yes, and all of the witnesses.
And do you feel that the police officers did everything they could to control the crowd on the scene that day?
Yes, they did everything they could, under the circumstances.
Any further questions for this witness from the jury? Thank you, Detective.
Helen. Uh-huh.
Any luck with Holly?
Okay, I keep calling the number at the rooming house. He hasn't called in. He hasn't left any messages. I went down there twice, and he's not there. Jimmy wants to see you.
It was inappropriate. You're not qualified to comment on the ER response.
All I meant was that when I did the autopsy, I found the gastronasal tube in place. That's a sign that ER tried to resuscitate him.
You have no way of knowing whether they did everything they could do to save his life. When I reviewed your autopsy results, I noticed that you made no mention of paddle marks on Sloane's body.
Uh-huh.
Did they use heart paddles like they were supposed to?
I didn't find any paddle marks, so I guess they didn't use them.
According to the ER report, paramedics on the scene failed to use heart paddles because the batteries were dead.
It wouldn't have mattered. He was bleeding to death. They couldn't have saved him.
They should have tried. And you should have caught the fact that they didn't. That's all. Thank you.
A bit rough on her, were you?
She's on the stand as a professional. The word carries weight. If she makes inappropriate or premature conclusions, it might influence the jury. Besides, it's better that I take her apart than someone on the stand.
Okay, point taken.
I thought we were going to hear from some other witnesses on the street that day.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to focus on more than just the last 3 minutes of the guy's life, so I think there's a bigger picture here, Jimmy.
So let's see the bigger picture. From a point of view, it's not in law enforcement.
Okay, fine.
I thought you decided Mr. Stewart didn't see enough of the incident to give a full account.
The thing is, I'm under pressure. I got to come up with more street witnesses, and he's one of the first on the scene, so he's it.
Well, it's your call, but he's got attitude. Thank you. Were the police on the scene when you arrived?
Yes, they were.
And the pepper spray, did the pepper spray have any effect on the victim, Mr. Sloan?
Move out! Move out!
Sure. He stopped moving, went back into the store. He was wiping his eyes.
Now, the spray went directly into Mr. Sloan's eyes, but that didn't stop him, did it? He came back out of the store immediately.
Not immediately. Like I said, he was wiping his eyes. I think they could have taken the knives from him. I think they had an opportunity.
This isn't an expert in disarming violent perpetrators.
I know what I'm talking about. I'm trained in self-defense.
That's right, Mr. Miller. Members of the jury, I would ask you not to consider the testimony of this witness as an expert, but I would like you to carefully consider his observations, not only on the police and their actions, but also on the demeanor of Mr. Sloan. Mr. Stewart, why are you under the impression that the police could have disarmed Mr. Sloan?
I saw the officer with the gun talking to the one who had a police dog. He was telling him to let go of the dog.
Let him go! Let him go!
You could tell he was angry that the dog guy wouldn't use the dog.
Let him go!
I think the dog guy was scared his dog would get killed.
That's not what the dog was for, Jim.
I don't want to hear why he didn't use the dogs from you. I would like to hear it from him.
Okay.
Ellen's in touch with the dog master. He's going to testify tomorrow.
And today, the medical community. You won't want to miss that action. It's going to be great in there. Hey, Bob. Bob, who's up for us this afternoon?
Dr. Ridge, I think.
Do you mind if I direct the question?
Fine by me.
Dr. Ridge, you are a forensic mental health psychiatrist at Riverside Facility.
That's correct.
And you were the doctor for Simon Sloan during the months that he spent there.
Yes. He was admitted to the facility in September of '94.
And why was he sent there?
He was acquitted of assault by reason of insanity, so he was sent to us for treatment.
He was there for nearly a year?
That's right.
Is it common practice to release somebody back into the community that has the history of violence and mental illness such as Mr. Sloan exhibited without continuing some kind of a treatment?
It is when they progress as well as Simon did.
Oh.
He was a model patient.
Also, can someone that has an illness like Mr. Sloan's, they can be cured?
An episode can be cured, but the overall condition cannot.
So you can't be certain that a psychotic episode won't reoccur then?
The patient has to monitor his own progress. He has to know when an episode is beginning, and he has to go for help.
But that doesn't usually happen, does it, Doctor?
It happens sometimes.
Okay. Sometimes. So, Dr. Ridge, at the time of Mr. Sloan's discharge, was he on any type of medication?
He was off all medication. He didn't need any.
He didn't need any unless another episode?
That's right. If he slid into another episode, then he would need the medication.
But now, who's going to tell him that he needs the medication? Who's going to tell him?
Whoever is treating him.
Okay. Okay. So he does need to be under the care of a doctor.
Mr. Sloan requested treatment with his GP. Dr. Thompson.
I didn't know he had been at forensic. I didn't know there was a history of mental illness.
Dr. Thompson, was there any hint of paranoia or delusion in your meetings with Mr. Sloan?
Well, in my last meeting with him, he had me check his hearing. He said he couldn't sleep because the birds outside were flapping their wings. I wrote in my notes, patient seems agitated, upset.
And what did you do?
I recommended he purchase earplugs.
Earplugs?
But had you known about the history of mental illness, would you have elected another course in his treatment other than the earplugs?
Well, if I had known, of course.
You have a visitor. I found him at the hotel.
How do you do?
Oh, Dr. Da Vinci. I'm Lewis Hawley.
Oh, I'm not a doctor. I'm a coroner. It's not a doctor.
Yes, I understand who you are. Helen explained. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Helen.
You're welcome.
So you're happy to talk about this inquest that we're conducting? You knew Simon, as I understand it.
I knew Simon.
How so?
We were both patients at the forensic psychiatric clinic. When we were discharged, we became roommates.
Where was that?
Canby and Hastings. I knew of a good place. Clean windows and lots of light.
That's nice. So did he have other friends?
Not that I knew.
So what can you tell me about Simon?
Oh, you want me to sum up a man's life over a cup of coffee?
No, I know that's impossible.
Even if we had infinite time, you know.
That's true. No, I was just more interested in, what was his name? What was his nature?
When I met him, he already had all kinds of treatments over the years, you know, shock treatment, medication. When, at the time we moved in together, I didn't see a reason for any of it. But I didn't see him during one of his episodes until about a year later.
And what was an episode like for him?
Well, he used to talk about how his mind was invaded by what he called the occupying force.
An occupying force? Did he explain an occupying force to you?
Yes, this force consisted of ideas from outside of him that he didn't believe in, but that infected him. He said they arrived at night, that the birds brought them to his window. He knew they were out there, you know, gathering outside his window, but he couldn't stop.
So this force now, did it change his behavior?
Oh, yeah, he'd wake up different. He'd be angry and belligerent. Well, next thing I know, he just moved his stuff out of the apartment. Vanished.
Just like that? I see. So when was the next time you saw him?
About a week before his death. So, you know, where you just up and vanished like that,
Oh, I didn't vanish. I've been here all the time.
Oh. So, what you been doing since you left?
I've been offered an opportunity.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what kind of opportunity?
Well, I can't say too much. The birds gave it to me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I think it's good.
I was worried about him. I thought perhaps he should be having some medication. So I went back a week later. I went to talk to him, but there was this man standing at his door. I asked the man behind the cage who Simon was talking to. He said it was a doctor.
A doctor?
Well, I was relieved. He was getting some help.
Do you know who this doctor was?
No. Just 2 days later, I heard that Simon had died.
No, I'm very sorry you lost your friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No one's fault, really. No one's and everyone's at the same time.
Great. I wanted to ask you about a man you had living here, a Simon Sloan.
I remember. He got shot by the police.
Right.
The guy never paid his rent.
Do you remember a doctor that came to visit him a day or two before he was killed?
No.
No?
Hey, turn that goddamn music down, man.
Okay. Hi. You told someone that came to him that you saw Simon talking to a doctor. Now, how did you know he was a doctor?
I caught Mr. Sloan outside, in the back alley, trying to burn some of his furniture. I called the mental clinic to come and take him away.
Sure. Do you remember the name of the clinic that you called? Did you write it down for me? Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, the clinic said it was one of the residents, Dr. Whitford, who did the house call on Simon Sloan.
And did you talk to Dr. Whitford?
No, because he was with a patient.
Oh, no. He's got to be in my court today. He's got to explain himself. Why a dangerous and delusional man like this was not taken in for psychiatric evaluation.
Yes, well, I left a message to that effect, but his receptionist said he was with patients all day.
So that's it. We get a warrant. Winston drops it off there today, and he's in my court this afternoon.
So, I'll do that. Good.
The call came across my radio at about 10:06, and I was on scene within a minute. I had Rio with me. He's a 3-year-old German Shepherd male.
Now, you did not release the dog on the scene. Why was that?
Well, he had 2 knives. If I would have sent Rio out, he might have been lucky to get one of the knives. And then again, the victim may have become even more agitated. If I had released the dog, we couldn't control what he might have done or what actions he might have taken with those knives. Plus, it would have put the officers at the scene in a more difficult position in having a clear shot at stopping him.
And how close would you estimate Mr. Sloan was from you and Officer Rook?
Well, Mr. Sloan was nearly on top of both of us when I heard the shot.
In distance, how far?
5 to 10 feet.
Thank you, Officer Burns. The next witness is Dr. Whitford. Dr. Whitford? I'm bringing forward now a witness who is not on the list, jury. Dr. Whitford and I have not had the opportunity of an introductory chat, but I think we can just dive in anyway. Don't you think so, Doctor?
Yes.
You're comfortable? Excellent. Now, I wonder if you'd explain to the jury what the circumstances were of your meeting with Mr. Sloan.
Yes. My clinic got a telephone call from Mr. Sloan's landlord. He said Mr. Sloan had been lighting fire to his furniture. He wanted us to bring Mr. Sloan in for a psychiatric evaluation. I arrived at Sloan's room. When I knocked on the door, he answered it, but he didn't let me in.
But you had a conversation anyway, did you?
I did. When I asked Mr. Sloan if he knew why I was there, he said, "Yes, you're here because I'm acting crazy, setting fire to the furniture and so on."
So if he was exhibiting this disturbing behavior, and he knew he was exhibiting this behavior, why did you then decide not to take him in for a psychiatric evaluation?
I decided not to take him in because he knew that he was acting crazy. He demonstrated that he had some sense of his mental state. You can't haul someone in for psychiatric evaluation unless they're a danger to themselves or others. That's in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, also part of the Mental Health Act. In this country, we preserve an individual's freedom to be eccentric.
That's very eloquent, Doctor, but what you're saying is you had absolutely no idea Mr. Sloan had in the past been admitted to psychiatric institutions. And not for being eccentric, but for being violent. He was a danger to others, and as it's turned out, Simon Sloan was a danger to himself. Thank you, Doctor.
I was on traffic patrol when I heard the call, and I reported to the scene immediately.
And did you request backup?
Yes. I called for the emergency response team. They have the Arvin gun.
For the benefit of the jury, an Arvin gun is a gun that fires plastic bullets.
You didn't have an Arvin gun?
No. And I wouldn't know how to use one if I had it. You see, you have to be trained in that. Otherwise, you can kill someone.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what you saw when you arrived?
A man had several people hostage inside of the store.
Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon!
He came straight at me.
You've been hunting me for 17 years.
Let him go.
How far away was Mr. Sloan when you discharged your weapon?
He was 15 feet away.
Why didn't you move back and make the distance between you greater?
There was a crowd there. I couldn't move back. I didn't want any of those people on the street to be killed. And I didn't want him to take anyone in the store hostage.
Officer Rook, had you ever seen this man, Mr. Sloan, before in your life?
I had not.
There was no personal history between you?
There was not.
Why do you think Mr. Sloan went to the store that day?
To kill himself.
I'm sorry, I don't think the jury heard what you said. Could you repeat that?
He wanted me to kill him, and I did.
Officer Rook, in your 11 years in the force, have you ever discharged your weapon?
No, sir. I had not.
And how far away was Simon Sloan when you shot him?
He was 15 feet away.
15 feet? So that's about 15 feet, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
10 feet is where Officer Litwin, who pepper sprayed Mr. Sloan, said that's how far he was from you when you shot him. The dog master testified that you were 5 feet away. So which is 15 feet? Is it 10 feet? Is it 5 feet? What?
I let him get closer to me than I should have. I hesitated. I didn't want to shoot him.
You didn't? Why would you not have mentioned this before, Officer Rook?
Nobody wants to work with a partner who hesitates.
Thank you, officer. Any further questions for this witness from the jury? Your excuse, officer. Thank you. Thank you. We, the jury, find the death of Simon Sloan a suicide. Although someone else pulled the trigger, it was his intention to die. In the absence of friends or family, the mental health system is the only mirror that some people have to check reality. We recommend to the Minister of Health that a system be created so that doctors can freely communicate the medical history of patients, so people like Simon Sloan receive the care and attention that is the right of every member of society. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for your care and attention.
This letter finally caught up to me. I guess I forgot to give Simon a forwarding address.
When did you write this?
Well, I'd like to read it to you. Dear Louis. Well, that's me.
I know.
Dear Louis, I wanted you to know today's the day. Today's the day I'll set out to do what I've been planning for so long.
There is an occupying force inside my head. The crow who lives outside my window is its messenger. At night I hear his wings and it's hard to sleep. During the day I feel his eyes on me. Sometimes I hear his call, but when I look for him, he's nowhere to be seen.
Today is the day. The day I will catch the crow that follows me.